All right, hey, doctors of our personal injury doctors elite community. Yes, Dr. Tony, your administrator and founder. And today we're bringing you a great presentation. We have had her on for a few years now, and we're going to bring her back on this new year of 2023. And Happy New Year to all our doctors in the personal injury doctors elite community. And she has some prominent people she will introduce as we go along. But first, a little bit about Annie Brown. She has been with us 2 or 3 years, maybe as a sponsor supporter, and has done wonders with a lot of our doctor members and actually professionally getting accident lists to their offices and marketing and bringing in accident cases to help many doctors help a lot of people that's been an accident that they don't know where to go sometimes. So so a little bit about Annie. She started back in 2001. She doesn't even look like she's that young, but anyway, over 20 plus years. She started in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, working with Dr. Arlen Lieberman, and decided to help him out in the personal injury field, learned all about it, and developed her own system of bringing professionally marketed accident cases to your area. Now she's going to explain a lot of things of how you can get in touch with her professional services as this interview is brought to you and recorded, so we have it for our PI Doctors Elite community. And she developed a business, Prospects Provider USA, she'll tell you about. And without no further ado, and I forgot to contact her because she's in Pasadena, California, and I know they had the parade this year. And it was on a Monday, holy cow. I looked for it on a Sunday. But anyway, besides this small talk, I'll go ahead and turn over this screen over to Annie. Annie, thanks for your time, always for your support. And we have a Dr. Andrew Jones with us today, and Mariani, she's our chief executive for Annie, that she's joining us today. Go ahead, Annie. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tony. I'm Annie Brown, and I specialize in personal injury marketing and helping chiropractors get in and be able to treat and help more car accident victims. And I started back 2001 with Dr. Arlen Lieberman, just like Dr. Tony said, in Golden Valley, Minnesota. I'm from the Twin Cities area originally. And, I wanted to help. He was a friend of mine, and I wanted to help him, help more car accident victims and also help him make more money. My background in training is in business administration and in marketing. So I kind of just asked the obvious question to him of, hey, how do you make more money, when I was trying to help him do that? And he said, work comp or PIs. So I kind of just picked PIs randomly and said, hey, how do we get more of those? And found an office that was a chiropractic office that was in the south of the cities, and they were doing a PI program. So I contacted the marketing girl there and said, hey, what are you doing? And she said, I'm doing this PI program, but it's not working. So I said, why don't you send over what it is that you're doing and let me take a look at it. So I took a look at what she was mailing out and what she was doing, and I agreed. I could see why that thing was not working. So I just modified it, changed it around, and I then began mailing to car accident victims. So let me back up from there. My program is based on the concept that you can get the names and addresses of people that have been in car accidents from the surrounding police stations, sheriff's department, and highway patrol offices around an office within about a 10, 15 mile radius of the office. So what that consists of is first researching which stations there are within that jurisdiction around that area. And then once you research which they are, then contacting them, finding out who to talk to at the stations, and basically getting their agreement to start providing crash reports to us on an ongoing basis. It's not as easy as that sounds. Oftentimes these stations have no clue what you're asking for. So the process can take a little bit to get done. But in a nutshell, I ended up developing this program for Dr. Lieberman, which resulted in about 12 to 13 PIs that started care every month. It's a lot. And this was back in 2000, and the laws were such in the Twin Cities, Minnesota area that you could mail to car accident victims as well as contact them by phone at that time. They've since changed the laws, but back then that's what you could do. So long story short, the program became, I started getting contacted by other chiropractors that found out about me, that had like a satellite office somewhere else. And they approached me and said, hey, can you help me with this? And that is how the business actually started, the very genesis of it. And then fast forward to 22 years later, I went through the gamut of doing all of the actual mailings and all of the work myself, physically doing all the mailings and all the calls to the car accident victims. And then I moved into the phase of actually then just supplying the list to chiropractic offices and going, over to you, here's the list of crash victims. But yet, guys, I was just sending the list to weren't resulting with PIs in the door because they needed some assistance. So I wrote up what I did that was successful, and then also entered a consulting program wherein the consultant works with the office staff, whoever's designated in that staff, to then run this program on. Now, what do you do with the list? Once you have a list of hot prospects of car accident victims, how do you successfully get them in the door? So that takes us now to present time. To currently what we do for services is exactly that. So in present time, what we do is, well, we actually offer another additional service, which I haven't mentioned, because once I expanded outside of the Twin Cities or the Minnesota area, I started having chiropractors contact me from other states. And then I found that there were different laws in other states. The laws consisted of which affected how I would do my business with a chiropractor. So what I need to find out what the public records aspect are, like what are the public records aspect to Wyoming, to Wisconsin, to Mississippi, or whatever. So what are the public records aspects? And then what are the marketing and solicitation rules on marketing and soliciting to car accident victims by the state or by the chiropractic board? And we also research the Bar Association for attorneys. So I have an attorney that's done all my research for that. And so when a chiropractor contacts me or a PI attorney, we have those laws available that we can know where to go on that based on what the laws say. And then I can help a chiropractor get set up with getting the crash reports from us, and then also helping them know, like, how do you get these guys in the door? And that's the gist of what my program is and how we've been operating for the last 22 years. Maybe I should just jump ahead and introduce people that are on with us as well. And I guess I'll start with Dr. Andrew Jones, who went to Palmer Davenport. And he's been a client of ours for, gosh, how long have you been with me?
I think year and a half.
Year and a half? Seems like it's been longer.
It might be. I know a year and a half for sure, though.
Okay. All right. So, and he's in Holman, Wisconsin. And I just thought I'd have him come on and talk about the program, or talk about how it's been for you.
Yeah.
So may want to mention that Dr. Andrew is a member of our PI Doctors Elite community. So that's great to have him with us here to go over a couple things that Annie's and has been doing with his practice and personal injury. Thanks, Andy. Is it Andy or Andrew?
Andrew.
Andrew. Okay.
I won't yell at you if you say Andy, though. It's fine. But actually, I think I was first introduced to Annie on one of the times when she was on the PI Doctors Elite Facebook page as well. So it's kind of come full circle now. But
interesting. I didn't remember that. Okay.
Yeah. But like Holman's a small town. There's 10,000 people in Holman. The overall surrounding area, we're at about 75,000 people. So it's not a huge booming metropolis. But when I moved over here, prior to that, my last office, I was doing a lot of personal injury, and it was on the other side of the state. And once I moved over here, I was really kind of spinning my tires on getting that aspect of my clinic really cranking again. And then that's when, I saw Annie's stuff on here. And so I I dove into it a little bit deeper, and I mean, it's been pretty darn good for me. That it really helped jumpstart the personal injury aspect of my office again in this new area, new community, to where I think the best we've gotten in a month. I know it was over 25 PIs that came in. I think it was 27.
Wow.
But on average, I would say we're getting around the 12 to 15 every single month that are coming in.
Wow. I don't even know those numbers.
Yeah, so
Good job.
the numbers work out pretty well. And with the program, there is not every single person that comes in the office so is a bona fide personal injury patient.
Right.
So there's, especially in the Midwest, in the Wisconsin area, there's months that are worse than other months as far as weather and
Yeah.
driving and all of that. So those tend to be a little bit better. And then the months where you're out traveling more in the summertime. So it does fluctuate a little bit, at least by us, as far as the number that are coming in. And, I mean, yeah, any given week, the lists, I mean, there's a lot of people that are getting into car accidents that I would have never known. And with, my knowledge base and everything else in the personal injury world, these people don't know if they're injured or not either. So now 6 months down the road, after they've already told their insurance company that they're fine and nothing coming of it, now we can catch stuff a lot earlier for them too, and be like, hey, let's check this out a little bit deeper, dive into it more, and then we can help the patient on so many more levels now by getting to them earlier in the game.
Yeah. Actually, that brings up something, since we're on an interviewed thing that other chiropractors are obviously going to watch this. There are questions that I get commonly. I've talked to a gazillion chiropractors over the last 22 years. So one origination that I will get occasionally, and maybe you can field or, say something about this, is what's your viewpoint, or how do you handle this concept of it being kind of funky, like ambulance chaser stuff, right? Like,
Yep,
how do you
yep.
handle that for yourself? Because that does come up. I'll even have chiropractors that want to do PI, they want to go after it, yet they got this little thing that sits there, which I understand. And I'm not sure how to reconcile that for them. I just tell them, look, that's what you're doing. You are actually contacting car accident victims. You got to
Yeah.
be able to you have to be able to like own it and go,
Yep.
I am. So what do you do with that for yourself?
Because if I'm not going to help them, who the hell is?
Right.
I mean, plain and simple. They can go to the emergency room. A lot of people do. And they're like, yeah, I got x-rays, CTs. I had all this stuff done. They said, I'm fine. Here's muscle relaxers, pain relievers, and away they go. And these symptoms stay with them and sometimes get worse, or, they go away and then they come back 2-3 months later, and now it's more of a chronic issue for them. So if I'm not going to help them, who the heck's going to help them? And that's the way I view it. You do have to have some thick skin with it, because there's a negative connotation when it does come to some personal injury things, especially when you're the one initiating the contact. But again, we're coming from a place of wanting to help these people. And yes, it does compensate us well at the end of the day. But there's also a lot more work that goes into it as well. And, so if you don't have the training, if you don't have the knowledge that, PI Doctors Elite community is giving us, and, all these other trainings and stuff too, I mean, you don't know what you don't know. So I think sometimes some of those docs that kind of have that little devil sitting on their shoulder going, oh, you're just an ambulance chaser.
Right.
I mean, it may be because maybe they need to have a little extra training, a little extra nudge on that end of things too, so that their core competence is a little bit higher for them.
Interesting.
Get a little more confident in what they can offer.
Interesting. That's actually really good. I'm glad I'm talking to you about this, because I haven't bounced that off of you. And that's really good to get what about guys that are concerned about what other people think? Like, I just talked to a guy from Connecticut like a week ago, and he brought up a concern about, like, they do a lot with attorneys there. And he was concerned about, are his attorneys going to think that about him? And again, it kind of leaves my realm a little bit, because my whole business is just specialized in what I said. Helping guys get it. So I don't get into that.
Yeah.
But
His attorneys are doing the same thing.
They are?
It's because they're all reaching out to them too, because they, if they're public record. So they're getting these records too, and they're mailing them things to become clients. So if I was an attorney and I had a chiropractor, all of a sudden sending me 3, 4, 5 clients every single month, be like, dude, you're a rock star. I love you. So, I don't think an attorney is going to look at that as a negative thing. And if they're a really good personal injury attorney,
Oh,
they
yeah.
would view it as absolutely amazing because this is another avenue for them to get clients in their doors.
I think that to add in a little bit, I think the mindset is what I tell doctors is that you're educating the public. Annie, you are educating the public. Dr. Andrews educating the public that physicians of chiropractic treat accident cases because a lot of them don't know. I remember back in the late 80s when I got started, my own patients went other places because I didn't educate them to let them know, hey, I treat accident injury. Oh, I thought you just did my lower back or my neck or headache. And all of a sudden, here now you're bringing out an education, you're in an accident, you have the right to get checked out. And the patients and the public is afraid, like, I don't know what to do next. And you're educating as a mindset of how you are helping people. And that's where the doctor's mindset should be, not that you're an ambulance chaser. You're educating, and he's educating, Dr. Andrews educating the public and his patients that this is what he does now. He specializes in that. He went through school. He has all the things, technology to help in that. Everything else is hearsay on the procedures wise, because that's just a whole nother story. But I always tell doctors that's the mindset you want, and you kind of feel better then, I guess, telling people, hey, yeah, I do treat these, which helps out a lot. Thanks.
Yeah, that's right. Well, let me introduce as well Mariani. Mariani Vivas. She's from Venezuela originally. Anyways, Mariani's been with me for, I don't know, Mariani, like a year.
Yep.
She's my right-hand gal, my right-hand man. And I took her on, and she's been helping me with my business from an executive viewpoint, but she's actually been my main consultant dealing with my chiropractors. So I just wanted to introduce her. I know she's worked with Dr. Jones, right?
Yep, we worked a lot together.
Yeah.
And I'm so
And then-
proud of everything you have achieved, doctor.
Yeah, I know. You're like a shining star, so
Yes.
you're a really good testimony, really good, and you're a great office to work with for us.
Yeah.
So like, I'll Mariani and I can speak about that point right there is like, we have offices that come to us that, can make and pull off what we're doing with our program really well. And there are some things that actually kind of complement that, and they're not to be overlooked. And because chiropractors are the kind of guys that people that believe in energy, you know what I mean? Like you guys have the idea of like energies and whatnot, and how that can be favorable. One of the things we found that Mariani and I found is that offices where the chiropractor and the staff all have kind of a green light personality, or they've got what I kind of call a go flow. They're easy, they're willing, they've got a positive mental attitude, that kind of an idea. They tend to make this marketing line go. And in situations where we've handed it off or had the chiropractor have somebody else, like either the wife or an office manager or something, and they've handed it to somebody who doesn't quite have that green light personality, it can make the program be a little bit more difficult. So you've been obviously very great to work with, because and for us, that makes, Marianne and I sit and like, we have wins because we're helping you. That's the whole goal for us.
Yeah. And the fact that, thank you, Annie, for introducing me.
Yeah,
And also
yeah.
the fact, what I like the most when I help chiropractors get trained and their offices set up and their staff, is that once they're winning, I know that I'm not only helping that chiropractic office win and thrive, but even though I don't know those PI patients that you guys are seeing, that's the extension of our help as prospect providers, right? We're helping the chiropractic office thrive, but there's so many car accident victims that are getting help because we're servicing the chiropractor. So I think that's the beauty of that chain, like that help chain that occurs.
Yep. And I'll say this too. It's lovely working with Mariani. Like I don't know if I've ever met anybody quite as nice as you.
Oh,
Annie's a close
thank
second, but she
Did you say Annie's a close second?
close second.
Yay! Good.
But no, when it comes to the staff aspect, so we did try to do a lot of it in-house. And I guess technically we are still doing it in-house, but I did end up hiring another person to run this. She does it part-time for me, and it's right up her alley to do this stuff. It's super easy for her to do. She's a single mom, and it's great. We did, and I think you guys can probably speak to this too, that we did go through some kind of, for lack of better words, trial and error as far as staff and who's going to do it and this sort of stuff. And, we just found that even though it was working, it wasn't quite working as well as it really should. So that's when I started looking for a part-time person then. And it's not hands off for me, where we're still having meetings, we're still getting together on things, but I don't have to focus on that aspect. And I think that's another one of the big things that really helps this thing run, is that I don't have to be intimately involved. In fact, she usually tells me to leave her alone.
Yeah.
Because I screw
Actually,
stuff up.
that's actually a really good point. Mariani, maybe you can like address this point that he's talking about in terms of like how you've seen it work from a consulting viewpoint, offices that make it work like Dr. Jones. Like, what are the successful actions, I guess is kind of where I'm going with that. He kind of spoke about it a little bit there.
Yeah, and exactly what he's mentioning, when you have somebody, exactly how you were mentioning as well, Annie, a green light, they have that mindset of like, I'm going to help this office get as many PI patients in, they don't have any back off to do any phone calls in the states where that's allowed legally, they're really contacting them, caring for the patient, and like what Dr. Tony was saying, educating them. Hey, we can help you, right? That's why we sent you that mailing piece, and we're just here to help and make them aware. You can come in and get more education from the doctor itself. So that's a very successful action when you have that green light personality, when you don't have any back off, and you really care for people. You have to be a people's person, right? You really want to help. And when we have people running the program that have that mindset, it just works really, really well. When you find somebody for this position that they have any back off, or they're a little bit of shyness, I don't want to tell people to come in or what to do. It just doesn't work. You really need to be willing to help and have certainty that I'm calling to create a beautiful effect. Because you come here, you're going to be seen by Dr. Jones or whoever chiropractor will be seeing you. You'll come out of the other end completely recovered. So that's the mindset. I think Dr. Tony mentioned it a lot. That is key, the mindset of that person running the program, and having that chiropractor back off the program with the same mindset. It just flows beautifully.
Yeah,
Yep.
totally. That's
Yeah,
right. And then I guess you spoke a little bit about the program before. I think this is a good point of and this happens with us, where we'll start with an office. We'll pick up a brand new office and get them established. Well, we do an initial step with you guys. So just so you're kind of tuning in and going, how does this program work? First, I have you contact me, and I make sure that you know the laws of your land, because, we all know that personal injury has been a funky area, like a hotbed of unethical behavior, as I would call it, both on the billing and on the marketing end of it. And then when I got into this arena, just because I wanted to help Dr. Lieberman like 20 some years ago, I kind of had to, I got indoctrinated into that aspect of it. And so I wanted to really keep my universe and anybody I was working with very clean, like not doing anything that's sketchy. And in order to do that, I first needed to know what the laws were. So like, can I work in that state? Can I not work in that state? Can I help this chiropractor? Can I not? Does this chiropractor know what the laws are, or don't they? Do they know they can make calls or not make calls? Like all these things. And I also have a program which relies on contacting car accident victims by mail and also by phone calls. That's my ideal. The ideal state is you can mail and you can call. They're the best. Like Dr. Jones is getting the amount of PIs that he's getting because he can do follow-up phone calls as well. The minute you can reach out, you'll double your numbers. It's not saying that it's worthwhile or worth less to not do personal injury marketing in a state that you can't do calls. It's just saying that you're not going to do as well. You'll never hit the same numbers. And so when someone contacts me, first we just check out the laws, like what are the laws of your state? We have those available. You would get those and purchase them from my legal department. And then we set you up with doing a step called research and establishment, where we actually do the whole research. We grease the line with the stations And that is a lengthier process. It can take anywhere like 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. Just depends on your area and where you're at. And what are we juggling with that, with other people in the queue that we're already doing that for. And then once that's done, then great, we can start supplying the crash reports to you. So when we start with an office though, after we're giving the crash reports, it can be a little bit like, you got your first month, your second month, and there's a bit of trial and error. So the chiropractor is a new animal for us. Like we've never worked with that chiropractor and whoever he's giving or she's giving us to work with as their staff. And so we have to vice versa. And then they're also learning a brand new program, like brand new. And so like, I know you went over this a little bit earlier, Dr. Jones, but I think it is kind of worthwhile to kind of like bite into that a little bit more. Like you started and if this is how I remember it, you were going to give this function to your main girl that was handling reception, right?
Mhm.
So you
Yep.
did give it to her, and then
Yep.
she kind of went along, but it wasn't quite going right with how.
Yeah.
how to do it,
Yeah, and
right?
I think it ended up being a little too much of a balancing act for office work plus this.
Yeah.
And although good personality, just it's a little bit different than a front desk person though too. So I think
Yeah.
just those two little things just added up, to
Oh, this
where
is perfect. I'm going to jump on that right there. So, because this is another point where I'll have chiropractors and they might not get how big of a deal it is, the actual person that's running it. Because it seems like it's no big deal. You're just sending out you're just writing addresses and sending stuff out and calls. How big a deal can that be? So this is something I would love for you to expound upon that point, like with regards to what you just were getting into.
yeah, like I think the person needs to come from a real, well, not that front desk isn't, but a friendly, caring, especially when it comes to that phone call aspect. I think that first
Yeah.
voice, some people have it, some people don't, to where it's the caring, inquisitive, that type of thought process, that type of tone in their voice that makes a really, really big difference. Whereas someone that's just more, just kind of straight to the point, and that I don't think, it's all about that rapport and just breaking through those initial barriers with people right off the bat. And it's got to be the right person for that. And that goes a long way. But then talking about energy before too, it could be, yeah, I'm just going to write these out because this is my job. Or it's like, oh, I'm writing this out to David. He's going to become, and just having that thought
Right.
process with it too.
Yeah, that's right. Good.
Yeah. Or if you have the office manager, right, she's running so many tasks and then you give her an extra one, she might not be as focused. She might have the right personality, but she's the office manager, right? She has a lot of responsibilities. So that's why I feel like what Dr. Jones did in hiring somebody that focuses on that alone, she really puts her heart in it, right? And it just works. It flows, it comes back to the office perfectly, rather than giving her 10 different tasks and then run the PR marketing line as well.
So if you all came on a little later in our interview here, we are talking with our professional Annie Brown and with
Oh,
Dr.
yeah.
Andrew Jones and Mariani with us today. And we're just kind of going over, she's our professional that provides professional marketing with accident lists. And a lot of us have to check our states, as she has mentioned in the points, whether it's legal, illegal, whether you can do it or not, and maybe your state boards. I know in the state of Missouri, I think we have to wait 60 days before there can even be a contact, which obviously in 60 days, you know what that means. A lot of them go places already before they get to you. So your state might be different. Wisconsin's may be great where you can contact them and do follow-up calls. And I know obviously Minnesota is probably a good state. So she can check that out for you, but you can check it out for you yourself. But for professional services, she would definitely let you know. So we wanted to bring her on today. We wanted to bring this in a recording so we can have for our PI Doctors Elite community and summarize that. You just make contact. She can go over what states you're from and go, just do the process that she has. I call it maybe a turnkey marketing system. You can go on with being a doctor like Dr. Andrews doing and provide the investment, I call it. You bring in 20, 15 to 25 cases that easily pays for the services, obviously monthly plus much more than sitting money in a bank that doesn't give you what 0.0000001% these days. Anyway, I wanted to bring that out. I don't know if you have any more to add. I know we wanted to keep this nice to the point and introduce you to all the professionals here and appreciate your time. So, Annie, if you want to take over.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, absolutely. You can contact me. I'll give you my cell phone. It's 818-653-0288, 818-653-0288. My website's prospectprovidersusa.com. I mean, maybe we can just reiterate if somebody's coming in a little late on the video and kind of catching it late. This is Dr. Jones, Andrew Jones, who's from a client of ours from Holman, Wisconsin. And maybe just to route it up for you, Dr. Jones, for that with regards to the program, maybe you could expound, just go into it a little bit more for like why you came on, why did you agree to come onto the program?
Yep. So again, I had a pretty good PI business on the other side of the state, and then moved over to where we are now. And I was just I wasn't gaining much traction with what I was doing, making the connections, doing all the calling attorneys, lunches, all that sort of stuff, and making contacts, but I wasn't getting much out of it. So I was on one of these one day and I saw you on here. So that's when I started diving deeper into this. And but yeah, you did all the legal work for me to know that it was legal, because I had no idea if it was or not. So and then yeah, we really hit the ground running with this thing, and it's been fantastic to get that aspect of my business back to where it was before.
Yeah, and we'll have Annie's all her contact
Yeah.
information posted underneath there. So even though we mentioned it verbally, and mentioned again, Dr. Andrew is one of our PI Doctors Elite members using the services. So we wanted to bring that on to promote Annie and helping you out if you're looking for a personal injury. Now, this is not farming attorneys. This is actually excellent list that she professionally gets and is able to possibly get them over to your office or your office staff to bring many more PI patients to help in.
Do you have any questions, Dr. Tony? Do you feel that either myself, Mariani, or Dr. Jones should answer?
I think the biggest one that I always see when we talk about stuff like this is that a lot of them say they might have done this before, and they're not really, they assume they don't know what the actual laws are. And you need to really check that out in your state, because that's important to know that you are cleared to do a lot of this stuff. And like Andy says, it's on the board. Professionally marketing is part of a practice that you need these days, especially in social media these days. And this is obviously having her on for 3 or 4 years with us. It's been doing real well for a lot of our doctors. So I think that's one of the biggest thing that I hear is, oh, that don't work, or it's not legal in our state, but they don't check anything out. And that needs to be done for sure.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
All
good.
right. So again, her number real quickly, 818-653-0288. That is on a Pacific time zone. That means she is 2 hours younger than me right now. I don't know, Wisconsin's probably Eastern Standard Time. So
We're central too.
Oh, he's
Oh,
central.
Central? Okay.
Yep.
And she usually wants, the name of your clinic or you. She wants your address and what state you're in on a text. Easier to text her, and she'll
Yeah,
get
it's easy to
her
text
or
me.
her staff to check back with you.
Yeah.
And then again, her website, prospectsprovidersusa.com. It's a plural.
That's right.
And so we'll have all that posted. So, all right, we'll probably wrap it up here. So we have a nice, good interview promotion here for 2023 and beyond to use. And always, I want to thank Annie for her time, Dr. Andrew for sure, your time, and Mariani for putting this all together for a lot of our doctors to definitely know where to go if they wanted to use your services and promote and build and grow in 2023 and
That's right.
beyond. So,
Yep.
Mhm.
okay.
Hey, thanks for having us and thanks
Thank you
guys
so
for
much, Dr.
being on
Tony. Yeah.
too.
Thank
Yeah.
All right. Jessica said that this isn't a recording and we'll have it out in our community. And you can always, I would assume if Dr. Andrew is available, that if you ever wanted to contact him through Annie or through himself, I know you don't want to be indulged with a lot of phone calls, but he's a busy guy like the rest of us. But I'm sure he's open to say, hey, this is how it's working.
Sure.
And from a doctor to another doctor, it's a lot easier to relate a lot of times. I know from my perspective point of view, and I appreciate his time in the future if he does that to a lot of our doctor members. So, and thanks for being part of our PI Doctor League community. Andrew, I
course.
know there's a lot of good stuff that flies in and out. The next thing we'll probably take over is how to deal with attorneys trying to reduce your bill. That's a whole nother subject. All right, with that, I want to thank all of you again, and I would just call it that this session is now ended. And Mariana, you got the reins, and
Yes, let me
thank
stop
you
the
again for
recording
putting
here.
this all together for us.
Okay, great. Let's stop.